It's the 4th of August, almost exactly 40 days since we returned from Sweden after taking our caravan touring around Europe and Sweden for the best part of 3.5 weeks. And today, everything is going to change. So we're here at Cranham Leisure Sales to pick up a new toy. So, which of these did we buy? It's Dave T here, and those that follow the channel will know that we have been caravanning for quite some time. In fact, we purchased our caravan way back in 2004. Since then we've owned 2 other caravans. We do tend to hang on to them, and we've spent just over 600 nights away, staying at more than 120 different sites and towed almost 27,000 miles. We've toured extensively around England, Scotland and Wales, and have been to Europe numerous times. Prior to that we used to camp, and I've toured the UK and Europe by car, motorbike and even bicycle. I've always enjoyed camping in all of its formats, overcoming the physical and technical challenges it brings, and most of all travelling from place to place, clocking up the miles and the memories. Now for the past 6 years I've been documenting the CL sites we have visited, the accessories we've purchased and the changes we've made to our caravan. And on a personal note, I'd really like to thank all of you that have taken the time to watch, and now the almost 5,000 of you that have subscribed to my channel. Our most recent adventure was to tow our caravan through Northern Europe to Sweden, a destination that few British caravans reach. This was by far the best adventure that we've had, towing just over 2,700 miles and staying at 13 different campsites. During the trip we realised that we really wanted to experience more adventures like this before life overtook us, and as we drove through the beautiful scenery of Sweden we had plenty of time to discuss how best to do it. And by the time we had arrived home we had made our decision. Okay, so I'm just editing this footage and realise I probably need to explain our thought processes. As I said, we enjoyed our trip to Sweden enormously, and the sites we stayed at were all fantastic in their own ways. But, and perhaps some people might find this a little bit strange, we actually enjoyed the travelling between sites almost more than the actual stays. I've often joked to my wife that we're not very good tourists but better travellers. If, or should I say when, we visit Sweden again, we want to go further north and explore more. We could do this with our current rig, but it would still take longer, and with us both still working there's a limit to how long our holidays can be. We needed a setup that was easier to travel with than the large twin axle caravans we've had for the past 15 or so years. We also wanted to be able to stop and enjoy some of the sights we saw along the way, and with such a big rig, well, even in Sweden, which caters well for caravans, we didn't want to deviate from our planned routes too much. So we knew we needed to change, but still weren't quite sure what to do. Now, I have a tendency to overanalyze even small decisions. So for something as important as this, I put together a sound plan on how to make the right choice. We were already planning a visit to the Caravan and Motorhome show at the NEC, so I fired up Excel and started a spreadsheet. I listed requirements, budgets, pros and cons, shortlisting possible vans to look at more closely at the NEC. This was a mission with a clearly defined purpose and a well laid out plan. Yeah, and then we went to Five Guys. So a couple of weeks after we got back from Sweden, my wife volunteered to take me for lunch here at Five Guys. So whilst we enjoyed a couple of burgers, we were talking about what to do with changing the caravan. And that's when Debbie suggested visiting the local dealership. Now I didn't expect them to have much in at this time of year, so we popped over there. And the rest, as they say, is history. So which of these did we buy? Well, it's this 2020 Adria Twin Supreme 640 SLB campervan. Bought and paid for, so all that remains now is the handover. Now, unfortunately, with so much going on, I didn't actually get to film much of the handover, so I've returned here to the scene of the crime to carry on the story. Now, we actually purchased our first 2 caravans here at Cranham Leisure Sales, and they've always been really helpful. And a big shout out to Lizzie, Charlotte and Mac and the rest of the team for all of their help. Now, Mac was the one that actually took us for a test drive in the campervan, and I would certainly recommend anyone takes a test drive if buying a motorhome or a campervan. His test route actually took us down to a local supermarket where I could practice actually reversing the van into parking bays. Now this actually highlighted one of the reasons we went for a camper van, because there's no way we would have actually taken an 8-metre caravan and towed it into a supermarket car park. Now, despite being my first time out in this particular van, had no difficulty at all reversing it into a parking space. Now the Adria 640 matched all the requirements we had from a camper van, and the one we purchased was at the right price for us, especially given all of the different extras that the previous owners had added to it. Now we decided to go for a camper van rather than a motorhome because whilst it's still a large vehicle, it's not as wide and as bulky as most motorhomes, and that would make it, we feel, easier to kind of do the day trips, going out and about, so to speak, in between actual sites. Now it is still a large vehicle, but it's significantly narrower than a motorhome, and whilst inside is compact, it still has as much space as we actually require. Well, that was a couple of months ago, so what have we been up to since then? So we picked up the van on Friday. This is now Sunday, Saturday. We popped over and just like putting things into it and stuff like that. We haven't got it sorted out in terms of where everything should go. We need to de-rattle it and organise our stuff effectively. But today, Sunday, we've taken a kind of must be 30-40 mile trip from home just to Walton-on-Naze. Blowing a gale out there, it's pretty rough seas. But just to get a feel for driving it, and seeing what it's like going out and about. So coming from a caravan, first thing is when driving along the road, it's noisier than when you're in a car that happens to be towing a caravan. I've got a Land Cruiser, it's fairly refined. It's not the quietest of cars engine wise, but it's fairly refined in terms of upholstery and that sort of stuff. So it's a bit more noisy to drive along, so that's something to get used to. I'm a lanky sod, so I'm trying to get the seat right, but I'm more or less there in terms of comfort on the seat, getting drive position. Walton-on-Naze is a small little village on the coast, so it was mainly kind of A12, dual carriageway there, then some minor country roads, some quite narrow country roads, little lanes and stuff as well, and then through the town and up into the car park here. And would I have done that with a caravan? Well, we've done kind of similar things, but I certainly wouldn't intentionally do that with a caravan, because the thing with a caravan is you've got to know that you can get back out again. So far, so good. So we're going to be going away in a few weeks' time just for a 4-night stop up at Cambridge, and that'll be the real test, because obviously we'll be sleeping in the van and everything else. But I'm so far enjoying the experience. There's been a few minor snags with the vehicle, nothing of any real consequence. We had some fun and games with the immobiliser on the new alarm, entirely my fault, so that's not a problem. A few other little slight niggles with the van, but most of it's all stuff I could fix and probably won't even bother taking it back to the dealer. So we're really happy and ready for the next part of our camping, caravanning and now camper vanning adventure. So we're here at our local weighbridge because we want to get the van weighed as we've bought it. Now, ideally, I wanted to pop over here the day we actually bought the van and get it weighed, but it was shut at that point. So the reason for weighing it now is because it's not a brand new van. We don't know what the original kind of weight is, and therefore if we're adding stuff to it and take it away, we don't know where we are. Now, we have put some stuff in the van, but obviously we know what we've put in, and we can, if we take some of that stuff out, we can weigh it back, come back out. This van has been up plated, so it's originally 3,500 and it's been increased to 4,000 kilos, which reduces the road tax. That won't be true in the future, they're changing that law, but it reduces the road tax and obviously gives you an extra 500 kilos of payload. So I'm not expecting, especially now, that we'll be anywhere close to our maximum limit of 4,000 kilos, but we'll see what happens. Never really trust the manufacturer's stated mass in running order, especially for caravans. They do all sorts of funny things like including stuff and not including stuff just so that they can tell you it's got payload it hasn't really got. We've been caught out by that in the past. And also this is I believe what's called a dynamic weighbridge, and what that basically means is it's just a pad in the road, and you're going to think all weighbridges are like that, but it's a narrow pad in the road, a bit like going across one of those things that pops up to stop you going in and out of car parks. And it weighs as the axles go over. And when we had a twin axle, we came here and we couldn't actually get it weighed because the axles on a twin axle caravan and a twin axle rear axle motorhome, they're too close together and it won't register correctly on this type of weighbridge. So we had to go and find one which was like a big, enormous slab and you park the whole thing on it. Anyway, we're just waiting for the guys to come down and actually run the weighbridge for us. It's about 15 quid. And I'd highly recommend, if you've got a new motorhome or even a caravan, get it weighed and check where you are. But hopefully, there's a van coming down now, hopefully this is the guy that's coming to do it. Well, we've had the van now for about 2 months and I've waited this long before posting about it, partly because I had to get all those Swedish trip videos finished, but also so that we can settle into having the van and give a more informed view of where we are. Now, the past couple of months have been very busy sorting out new gear for the van where required and generally just organising it the way we want. We have brought the van home a couple of times to do this work, and we were never able to do that with our caravan and get it onto the driveway, and having the ability to bring a van home for work or to load up with quite a novelty for us, and also to make videos like this. Just another small advantage for us at least. We have been away in the van, staying at the Caravan Club Cherry Hinton site in Cambridge for 4 nights. Everything went without a hitch, no pun intended, though we will need to get used to the setup process being back to front from our perspective. And by that I mean you have to do things like pick up the water before pitching rather than after. Along the same lines, we actually arrived at Cambridge a bit early, deliberately for check-in, so we used this time then to pop to the nearby Tesco, parking the van in their car park, which was no problem, and that enabled us to grab some supplies before we arrived on site, rather than pop out after pitching, which is what we would do if we needed supplies for the caravan. Now, overall, we are really enjoying the new experience, and it's given us a little bit more of a sense of adventure, which is what we were basically looking for. So what does this mean for the channel? Well, I'm certainly going to be continuing with the channel and have lots of new content planned. The CL site videos will definitely be continuing, as well as more product reviews and my usual crazy ideas for fixes and enhancements. There's a surprising amount of crossover between caravans, motorhomes and campervans in terms of kit and other issues, and I'm sure I'll certainly be covering plenty of caravan related products and topics going forward. There will also be more off-grid related content as we improve the van's 12-volt systems, and I certainly hope that all of you caravanners stick with the channel, even if for no other reason than to see how a pair of veteran caravanners adapt to travelling in a, relatively speaking, small camper van. We will definitely be taking more adventurous trips both in the UK and Europe, so if you've enjoyed our recent series travelling to and around Sweden, then please do stay with the channel. I hope you've enjoyed this slightly haphazard video, and if you have, then please do hit that like button, and if you would like to see more videos that I make, then please consider subscribing to my channel. But most of all, thanks for watching.